How good is your character at doing stuff in a tabletop roleplay game? Like Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder, they have something called proficiency, and it represents how good your character is at doing these things. Swinging a sword, casting spells, athletics, acrobatics, persuasion, you name it. A lot of us have been playing other tabletop roleplay games. I'm here to break down this concept, because although both the D&D and Pathfinder have proficiency, they both go about it in two totally different ways. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to be sharing the way I've handled it with the new tabletop roleplay game, DC20 RPG, that I'm developing. I am a little bit biased because I'm the one making it, but I want to hear what you guys think down in the comments to see this breakdown of how proficiency, or mastery is what I call it, works. We're talking about the goods and the bads of both systems and introducing a third. Let's go.
Hey, wait, you didn't talk about me. Hey, not right now. That's later in the video. Okay.
So how does proficiency work in Dungeons and Dragons? Well, it's very simple. Maybe too simple, but you're going to be the judge of that. Proficiency in Dungeons and Dragons is if you have proficiency, you add your proficiency bonus, which is a flat number that scales over time. It starts off as a simple +2 and then slowly increases as your character levels up to 3 at 5th level, then 4, 5, and ends off at 6. So if you have proficiency in a skill, you add +2. And then as you level up, that thing you get better at over time, and then that bonus becomes a +3. You're also adding your attribute to this, but we're only focusing right now on the actual proficiency bonus. The quick pros and cons on this is the pros are it's very simple. It's so mind-numbingly simple. Do you have proficiency in that thing? Then add your proficiency bonus. Do you not? Then don't. And real quick, in general, there's always going to be an attribute involved here if you're doing something with strength or might or agility or intelligence, whatever you're doing with. So that's a given. We're specifically talking about this proficiency or mastery bonus that you're getting because you're like well trained in this thing. So when you create a character, they're good at swinging a sword and interacting with animals. They're going to add their proficiency bonus of +2 with the attacks they make with a sword, and they're going to add that proficiency on interacting with animals. Super simple. And then at level 5, out of nowhere, and this kind of where maybe it's a pro, maybe it's a con, I don't know. To me, it's kind of a con, is you just randomly at level 5 now that +2, now it's a 3. There you go. So now, again, I think this is a con. Now, every character at these moments have a huge bump increase. So at these thresholds, everything just flat out increases by 1. These include smaller things like trade skills and other types of skills and proficiency with weapons. So across the board, out of nowhere, everything bumps up by 1. And I just feel that's a little bit, I don't know, there's no customization there really. If you choose animal handling at level 1 and you put a point into that, you're just going to slowly increase there. Have no control with what you're doing at all. You just got to make sure that your attribute in that category is high, and then you just level up over time and it'll naturally get better. Even if you do nothing with animal handling or nothing with whatever the skill we're talking about. I like to use animal handling because I've seen a character in a campaign choose animal handling at the beginning because their backstory made sense for it. And they never interacted with animals once the whole campaign, apart from the game mechanic of you have proficiency in it and it just gets better over time. For no reason. But man, oh man, is it simple. And it's a very nice number to interact with whenever you're talking about making mechanics as far as subclasses or once per long rest. And it's very convenient and a smaller number that does scale over time, ranging from 2 to 6, which is a great number when you're designing a game to be able to have a certain amount of charges or uses. You can do this a certain amount of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest or whatever. Or you can have things scale nicely and you can add your proficiency bonus to something, and that number slowly grows over time, but not too much. So that's D&D, but now how does Pathfinder do it?
Time out. Have you heard of hero plushies? Hey, I said it's not time yet.
Pathfinder has proficiency, but they break it down into 5 different ranks of untrained, trained, expert, master, and legendary. Now there are 5 ranks, but technically there's only really 4 ranks because untrained, you get a +0 in it, and that's absolutely nothing. At each of these 4 proficiency ranks, you gain additional +2, +2, +2, +2 as you go on up. I think it's really smooth. It's just a simple +2 each time you go up. So trained is +2, expert +4, master +6, legendary +8. And when I talk about DC20 here in a second, you'll see why I think it's a pretty good system, but Pathfinder kind of keeps going with it. And I really do want to know which one of these you like better. Even if you play D&D and that's the only thing you've ever played, it is okay to still look at other systems and be like, ooh, that's interesting. And if D&D wins the award for the most simple method of proficiency, then Pathfinder is going to win the most complicated because, man, they really do run with it. And here's what I mean. If you look at a class in Pathfinder, it'll tell you certain skills that you are untrained, trained, expert, or whatever in. And then as you level up at certain points in your class table that you get, it'll say like, oh, now you become an expert in athletics, or now you become a master in athletics at certain leveled thresholds as you go. And as you level up, you're also given skill feats and certain things and skill points in times where you can keep leveling this up. And I do like that. It does solve the problem of this weird character that starts off with animal handling and then they never do anything with animal handling, nor does the actual player or character want to get better at it. And that's fine. If you choose something at level 1, that doesn't mean you have to keep working on it. Let's say you don't care anymore. Sweet, then don't put any more points into it. But Pathfinder ties a lot of this into the entire process of the game, which then gets a little bit crazy because then how good you are with a weapon also changes from trained to expert to master to as you're leveling up. So spell casting, weapons, things having to do with combat, things having to do with skills, trades, whatever, all follow this same one concept of mastery. But then to make things a little bit more complicated, in Pathfinder as a whole, whenever you make a skill check, you do add your level as well. Here's an example. Right now I'm playing as a player in a Pathfinder game for the purpose of really diving into this stuff. The rules lawyer's the dungeon master, and the other players are YouTubers you probably know of Dungeon Dudes, Monkey DM, Mr. Rex, and D4 Deep Dive. This is the first time I've actually announced it on the channel, so if you do want to check it out, I post the gameplay videos available on my Patreon. You can see us play and learn a new game. But this is some of the stuff that I've learned from Pathfinder. Some I like, some I don't. So how proficiency works in this deception check. I'm looking at my character sheet right now. My character has a 2 in charisma. So if I'm making a deception check, that's going to be starting off with a base of 2, and I have proficiency in deception. I would be trained. So trained gives you a 2, but if you have proficiency, it also adds your level, and I'm level 1, so that now becomes a 3. So my overall deception check is a +5. But do you see how that's a lot more complicated really than, oh, charisma, and then are you proficient? Yes, 2 + 2 is 4. So in Pathfinder, not only do you have the base attribute, and then there's proficiency, but it's what level of the 5 levels are you at this thing? And then once you have that number, in this case, it'd be 2, it also have to add your level, which is added to this number. So then it's added to your, okay, cool. But if I'm not proficient in deception, then I would just add a simple +2 and you don't add your level to it. So man, Pathfinder really did like the scaling aspect of this stuff. And you have adding your level to your check, which makes the checks go very, very high. And then you also have the level of trainedness you are in it, which you gain through your class and or gain through points that you get as you level up and or feats you choose. And then there's certain actions that you can take based on if you are trained or not in them, and you can't take those if you're not. So as you see, there's probably a lot of stuff that you liked about what I just said with Pathfinder if you're coming from D&D and vice versa, but it's just a really complicated and maybe too simple on the other side for D&D. So what if we took the best of both worlds and created a third system that solves all the problems, at least in my opinion? I'd love to hear your opinion too. So in DC20 RPG, we have mastery.
Time out. Is it time yet?
Yeah, finally, let's go.
If you've been wondering who these guys are, I had a little fun with it. These are Hero Plush from the Gallant Goblin and the sponsor of this video. The Gallant Goblin is a friend of this channel. He reached out to me because they just launched their own Kobold plushie line. They're called Hero Plush, and they come in the full spectrum of chromatic colors for you to choose from. And they have their own little stances that they're in. And they have little bits of accessories that you can actually take off, switch around, and change. This was actually the coolest part to this, because on their hands, this little shield he's holding, you can take off, and it's a little Velcro. And his sword, Velcro. Even this little belt around him he's got on, Velcro. So check it out. This is the Warrior Blue Kobold, and this is, of course, the purple. I had to get the purple one, y'all. Come on. He's a bard. I'm going to switch him up. Yep, check it out. I stole his accessories and put them on this guy, and now he's a war. Open your eyes, buddy. Fight up. So I just think these things really are pretty cool, really are pretty cute. And if you want yourself a Kobold plushie, check out the link down in the description. Thank you, Gallant Goblin, for sponsoring this video and making some sweet little plushies. And this guy really does look like a little baby Alcander. You know, Alcander's Almanac? Alcander? Yeah? No? Huh?
And don't forget to use code DungeonCoach to get 20% off your order.
Yeah.
All right, so now what you've all been waiting for, what's the solution to this? Now, this is going to be my proposed system and how it works in DC20 RPG of the concept of mastery, of how good you are at something and it hopefully scaling over time in some way. I personally think things should work a little bit different when it comes to things like combat. Swinging a sword, casting spells should work a little bit different and should still scale in combat. We'll get to that. And then there's skills and trades, the things you pick and choose what to get better at. You're always going to want to cast spells and swing a sword better, but do you really want to keep putting points in animal handling? As your character grows and develops over time. The pocket that you see yourself playing in, whether you want to be stealth, deception, the face of the party, whatever you're doing, those different things will change over time, and you can put points in them and change. I want to keep that, and I really do like where Pathfinder took that. But then in combat, you're always going to want to swing your weapon better and cast spells better, so that shouldn't be there shouldn't be the same system. So my proposal here in this third system is, I think, the best of both worlds, and something that's not too simple to where you can't really do a lot with it and has a little bit of problems, and it's not too complicated to where the biggest problem is how complicated it is. So to show you this, I'm going to the actual alpha document of DC20 RPG, and here we go. This talks about mastery and the different kinds of mastery here. There's skilled mastery and trade mastery. I have separated those out as far as points. Whenever you get points as you level up, you will get skill points to be able to put into skills, and you'll also get separately trade points to be able to put into trades. So wanting to put points into blacksmithing, lockpicking, or pottery is not going to conflict or fight with wanting to be better at athletics, acrobatics, influence, insight, whatever. So here's how it works. There's 5 levels. Very simple, but this case there actually are 5. You don't need to have an untrained, which is just 0, because that's just anyone by default, right? So I think it's more clean to have 5. This is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Done. So from novice to adept, expert, master, and grandmaster, it flows all the way through, and you just get +2 as you go up. And as you can see in the chart here, there's a cap to this that increases as you level as well, opening up extra notches at 5, 10, 15, and 20. Now, certain classes, like specialist type classes that are better at skills, bard, rogue, artificer, etc., those can have certain feats and stuff within that class that lets you be able to have more than that, but that's class specific. But now what about combat? When it comes to combat, I don't think this is a good system for combat, because then do I give people points and then they put points into stuff with swords and spells? No. And I went down this rabbit hole through the game design thought process, and I feel like there's a better way to do it. Introducing combat mastery. This is half your level. Done. That's all it is. It's not your level, because then that gets to where you're adding really high numbers. And I want the numbers in DC20 RPG not to run away with you and just get so crazy high you lose track of it. Because I am a D&D 5th edition person. I like the number ranges there. I like how things kind of start to max out at 30 and don't get too crazy. But this keeps the numbers in check a little bit. So your combat mastery is equal to half your level. So if you have combat mastery with a sword, you add half your level, which at level 1 is 1, because half of 1 is 0.5. And then in DC20, you always round up, which I think you should always do anyway. But in Pathfinder and D&D, you always round down. Anyway, I digress. You round up to 1, and then you have at level 2, it's 1. At level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, level 7, you get the idea. So you get a really smooth every other level it increases type of thing, and whether you cast spells, and as you can see here, here's the different things that involve combat mastery. Weapons, shields, armor, spell casting, your saving throws, and your save DC. All the combat oriented things, and they slowly scale over time as your level increases. I don't have to worry about putting points into it or waiting for certain moments in my class where I gain the next notch of the +2 in that class. And if you want to gain combat mastery in something, you totally can. You can use a multi-class talent to go get some stuff from a class that you like. You can use other talents to gain certain specific things you want, and you can gain combat masteries. And once you have combat mastery, it's half your level. Now, taking a big step back, I want you guys to kind of see where I'm coming from with this. I think it's different whenever you choose to be a cleric. You want to be able to cast holy magic well, swing weapons and stuff, paladin, fighter, whatever thing you pick. You want to always do good with that class. So combat mastery in this case towards combat, should just be half your level, and it goes and scales with you over time. You don't have to put more points into it, because that is the class you chose, and you're going to be good at those combat things. On the other hand, there are skills, and you might want to change and shift around the stealth attribute compared to influence, compared to animal hand, compared to whatever you're doing. And that could change over time based on how you want to play the character and based on role play aspects or whatever choices you want to make with your trades and skills. It works like that. Also, here's the trade mastery screen, which as you can see follows the same thing as skill mastery. So skill mastery and trade mastery, the things you want to practice and do stuff on the side with skills and trades, they have the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Simple. You are given skill points and trade points to put points into those things. You get better at what you put points into. Super simple and customizable. And it's as simple as that. Skills is a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Choose and put your points in them, and you can customize it. But in combat, it's half your level. Very simple. I think it truly is the best of both worlds, and that's what I'm trying to do here with this new game system. I'm not trying to recreate D&D 5e. I'm not trying to recreate Pathfinder. I'm truly trying to take inspiration from those two. I have mainly played 5th edition, but I look at Pathfinder and I see a lot of really cool ideas that I think they just went too far in the complexity with. Too grindy, too crunchy. And I think there is a perfect middle ground, and that's what I'm trying to do here in DC20 RPG, and I think we're doing a great job of it. Let me know what you think. If you want to know more, there's a ton of information freely available out there. I do videos about every 3 weeks or so on DC20 RPG. I have live streams every other week that I have about 5 or 6 of at this point now, that you can really see the rules being revealed and kind of showcased. And if you really want to support DC20 RPG and this whole development of this awesome game on towards full release, you can join Patreon, and I give announcements on Patreon, behind the scenes game development live streams, and I'm going to be releasing the alpha of DC20 RPG very soon. So if you have no patience, you want to get all the access as early as you can, Patreon's where it's at. And if you do have the patience to wait, keep checking out these videos, keep sharing around, talking about them. Love hearing what you guys think.
So until next time, stay creative and think outside the box. Peace.